Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 6 of the Chase is On. Excited to be here with you again. I'm having a lot of fun recording these, a lot of fun filming these. If you're watching them on YouTube, it's just a really nice medium for me to get some of the thoughts I have out. Some of them informative. I feel like this one could get a little ranty, but it's my podcast, so whatever happens, I suppose. Before we begin, gyms have started to open up. The gym I work at has been open for a couple weeks now. Gyms around the country are starting to open up, and hopefully, they're taking the steps required to stay open, especially with the increase in case numbers we're seeing. But anyway, I want to talk about, there's something that's happened these last couple weeks that I've seen more times than I have, in the previous 8 years of my trainer lifestyle, and that is laying on the incline bench incorrectly. Okay, so the incline bench is, one of the benches that adjusts, from flat up to an incline. Usually it's got 3 different settings, and then all the way straight up. And it's made up of 2 pads, right? So you have a small pad, a short pad, and then you have a long pad, okay? So while it's all the way flat, it looks like an exclamation point if you're looking at it from the top down. I hope you guys are following me. When it's flat, you put your head at the end of the long pad, okay? You do not, it may make sense to you that head goes on short pad because your head is small compared to the rest of your body. But that is not the way you do it. Because you think when you incline it up, that is your seat. Therefore, if you put your head there, that is where everyone else puts their butts. And that is super gross, okay? Even if you cover it with a towel, I can't get over the fact that people are laying their heads where other people put their butts. So, next time you go to the gym, be aware of the way you're laying on the bench, please. Just so I don't have to cringe and shiver. And then correct you and risk embarrassment, stuff like that. All right. So let's get into today's topic. Admittedly, I had a different idea for the podcast today, but being at the gym for the past couple weeks, putting a lot of hours in on the floor, training some clients, doing some classes, and even just being on the floor, helping to clean and make sure that we do everything we can to stay open. Follow the mandates and all that. I've noticed that the focus of a lot of the gym goers' training session isn't really there. Whether that's because people are so used to being on their phone, these past 3 months, 4 months, having the shelter-in-place order, the stay-at-home order, and that's how they've had to do their business, had to connect with family, had to connect with friends, had to do their shopping, had to do everything through phone and computer, essentially. Or if it's the social media age where you need to look at Instagram for whatever reason to keep up with your favorite celebrity, or you have a fear of missing out on the latest TikTok trend or something. Whatever. I'm not totally into social media, other than my Instagram, which you can follow. Link is in the show notes. But I've noticed maybe 90% of the gym goers I've observed, are spending a ton of time on their phone, within a session. And that got me think about focus, focus and where it falls in the importance of training and the importance of working out. And I really broke it down into 3 different areas. We got short-term focus, which is within training session. So, that day that you're in the gym. We've got medium-term focus, which is, a training block or training program, or a milestone towards your long-term goal. And then we've got long-term focus, which are, those big goals that you're shooting for, whether it be, trying to reach a certain weight on a bench press or a deadlift or a squat, whether it's trying to lose X amount of pounds, whether it's trying to run, a marathon Ironman, whatever it may be. Those are those big term goals. The medium term goals are the mile markers along the way. You're kind of checking to make sure you're going in the right path. So let's talk about it. So we're gonna go short term first. Short term is, I think, really the one that gets probably abused the most. Medium term's right there as well, but especially in this fear of missing out type of society, it seems as though people can't go more than 15 minutes without checking their phone. Whether it's a text message, like I said, or Instagram post or Snapchat or whatever. And I think within a training session that provides, or that causes a couple negative potential outcomes. The least negative of them all is that your sessions are just going to take too long. Like, you're going to be in the gym way longer than you thought, way longer than you allotted for, because you're spending 5 to 7 minutes between each set, scrolling Instagram or checking your emails or whatever, right? So you're not really focused between your exercises. You lose track of time. Now all of a sudden, instead of doing 5 sets of bench press in 20 minutes, you've done 3 sets of bench press and it's taking you 30 minutes. All of a sudden, we're in the gym for 2 hours. We've wasted part of our day, and really we wasted most of that workout. Kind of going into that one, your rest intervals then are no longer conducive to whatever your training effect, desired training effect is. Whether you're training for strength, hypertrophy, conditioning, muscle stamina, whatever it may be. Just as important as the sets, reps, and load is your rest intervals, right? So, and it's kind of, it's got to make sense with what you're doing, right? So if we're training maximal strength, that's where we're working, 90% and above of our 1 rep max for 3 to 5 reps, maybe even down to 1 rep. That's where you want to take the long rest intervals, but that is not an excuse to be on our phone between sets, because we're working with really heavy weight. This is the most dangerous thing we do in the gym. You want to be able to focus on the rep and not put yourself in harm's way because you're not focused on the task at hand. Whereas if we're training, for hypertrophy or even just strength that's not maximal strength, your rest intervals are going to be a little bit shorter. You're working with a little bit lower percentage. Your rest intervals are going to be a little bit lower so that you can, cause adequate muscle damage, get enough blood flowing into the muscle to provide the stimulus to grow the strength. And then muscle stamina, that's where we're working the most reps out of any of those. We're working in 15 to now 20, 25 reps. It hurts me to say that. I can't imagine doing like 25 reps of a bench press. But you're working at those high reps, you're working really low weight, but you're also working really short rest intervals, right? Because we're trying to train the muscles to be able to go consistently, right? That's why if we take track and field, if you're running, the mile or 2 mile, your rest intervals are going to be a little bit shorter during your training runs to build the stamina to be able to go more consistently. Whereas if you're running the 60-meter dash, which is, kind of grew it with the maximum strength, your rest intervals are going to have to be a lot longer. You're taxing your nervous system a lot more. You're working at a much higher percentage of your capabilities. So you're going to need more rest to be able to do that repeatedly. Okay. So the increasing the rest intervals is not only detrimental to the outcome most of the time, but it's also detrimental to the focus or to your thoughts on the lift between. and that can cause, like I said, injury risk. You can misgroove a lift, whether it's a bench press, a squat, or a deadlift, or even, a barbell bent over row. You're putting yourself at risk of not having the attention to detail necessary to perform the lift to the best of your ability. And, that's where injuries happen. You see it all the time in sports, that lose focus on the task at hand and they make a mistake. The two big ones that pop into my mind are Chris Webber calling a timeout when he didn't have any. He lost focus on the task at hand, on what was needed to be done. And then Bill Buckner letting the ball roll through his legs for the Red Sox. Sorry, Red Sox fans, if you're listening, you guys won a World Series, it's okay. But just lose that momentary focus, and all of a sudden something you've done 1,000 times doesn't work out the way it should. And then the final one, I'm going to get into this short-term focus loss is kind of selfishness. Especially these times where gyms aren't working at 100% capacity. Not every machine is available. Not every weight is available. Not every area is available. So if you are, on your phone between sets, you're taking, an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, you are using up space without actually using it that other people could be using at this time. There's just not, it's not the way it was before. And even before, it's still pretty selfish of you to sit, on the bench for 10 minutes between, sets of 5. But, especially now, be courteous to the other members, get your stuff done, move on to the next thing, get out of the way, for lack of a better term. So those were my big short-term focus thoughts. Sessions too long, rest intervals not conducive to the training effect. There's an injury risk of losing that focus, and just being selfish and thinking the whole gym's yours when everyone else pays dues just like you do. Okay, so moving on to medium-term focus, I've got this in a couple different ways. So if you are on a program, like if you pay someone or you download, bigger, faster, stronger program, or Wendler's 531 or whatever. So you're following a program. Let's say it's a 4-week program or a 6-week program. Let's call it a 6-week program. You get to week 3, and all of a sudden, your favorite Instagram trainer, who's not me, comes out with a program, and you decide, oh, I'm going to try that one because they came out with it, so I'm going to give it a go. And all of a sudden, you think, well, 531 didn't really work. That's not true. You didn't give it a chance. It's a 6-week program. You gave it 3 weeks. You only got halfway done. So program hopping is the big thing for those medium-term goals. Those 4, 6, 8-week goals. If you stick to a program, you want to be able to stick with it the whole time. Like if you sign up for a program, stick with it the whole time. That's going to give you the best effect. These things are written so with goals in mind at those finishing markers, right? If it's a strength program, your strength numbers are planned to go up at that 4-week mark, that 6-week mark, that 8-week mark. You're going to get stronger along the way, but if you don't give it its full, value, its full life, results are going to be limited, maybe even going to be non-existent, depending on the effort you put into it, how quickly you bounce out of it. Kind of also to go along with that, and I see this all the time, it kind of drives me nuts. I follow a lot of strength coaches who have some fantastic ideas, whether it's a variation on an exercise you can do in limited space, a mobility exercise, whatever. But again, these exercises are programmed in a way that they're going to add to the ability of whatever else is in that program. They're working together with other exercises. So I check out these exercises. I like them. I keep them in the, I write them down. I keep them in, the brain bank, whatever. And when it comes time for, a new set of exercise, if I feel like it fit, I'll put it in. Scrolling through the comments saying like, oh, I'm gonna add this in tomorrow. Oh, this is great exercise, I'm gonna do it today. Everyone chill. Does it make sense with what you're doing today? Is it going to add or take away? Are you going to have to remove something in the program that you've already written to put this in? There's so much information out there. I think a lot of people just kind of jump from thing to thing to thing, thinking it's all going to be same. It's all helpful. And in reality, at the end of the day, it all is if it's implemented properly, right? If you're just throwing it in there because some girl on Instagram some guy on Instagram put it out there, and you want to tag them, and see if you can get a conversation going. It's probably not best for your goals, but it could be, I guess, best for your social media clout. So, stick with, if you're going to train for, a marathon, stick with your marathon training until you run the marathon. If you're going to train for a powerlifting meet, stick with your powerlifting meet until you run the meet. Like it makes no sense to start training for, these are extremes, start training for a powerlifting meet, and then 6 weeks into your 12-week powerlifting meet, you're like, all right, now I'm gonna go run a marathon. It just doesn't make sense, and that's what program hopping does. So you lose track of what you're trying to accomplish in those medium-term goals. Okay, so moving on to the long-term goals, I think these the long-term goals are kind of tough, right? Because they're 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a couple of years down the road, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, whatever it may be. So these are really easy to lose focus on what you're trying to reach. But I think a lot of the issue comes from losing focus on where you've come from. So these long-term goals, because they take so long, you can forget where you began. The big one here is with weight loss, right? You go on to any like weight loss forum or something like that, and there's a bunch of great stories. People who followed Weight Watchers, people who followed the Atkins diet, people who followed whatever, the 10,000 steps a day, and had fantastic success. But then there's a lot of stories where it's like, all right, this is my 4th time trying. I haven't really stuck with it. I got discouraged because I didn't see the number on the scale I wanted to, and I think a lot of people, and I'm guilty of this too, think results are going to come faster than they are. When really, health is a long game. You ideally, hopefully you're on this earth for a really long time. Hopefully you're healthy pretty much the whole time. If I live to be, 80, I want 80 healthy years, minus my bad knee. Nothing I can do about that now. If I live to be 110, I want 110 healthy years. I don't want, 60 healthy years and just kind of like suffering through, the final 40, 60, however long, 112, however long it's going to be. So these long-term goals, you want to make sure that you keep your focus on two sides, which is tough as a human to be able to see forward and backwards. I'm going to give a shout out to my dad because he's, done fantastic. His wife has also done fantastic. They're both on a great weight loss journey, and I think their focus on the goals in front are awesome. But what they're doing really well is also seeing how much progress they have come, in the last 6 months, in the last year, from where they started, down 15 to 20% of their weight, which is great. So being able to focus on where you came from as well as where you're headed, and that can help to keep those long-term goals, intact. If you lose track of where you started, it's like you actually lost 30 pounds at this point, but maybe you've hit a plateau, or you've gained 20 pounds of strength, but you've hit a plateau. If you lose track of where you came from, it's going to make it much tougher to look forward to those long-term goals. All right, I think that's a pretty good place to end. It didn't get as ranty as I thought it would. A little bit on the short term. If you guys have any questions, any help with programming tips so you can stay focused on your goals, make sure you reach out. Email chase.harris.performance@gmail.com, Instagram @chase.harris.performance. It'll all be in the show notes. This is on YouTube as well. If you want to listen to it twice and watch my weird hand motions, you can go to YouTube. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys in a couple weeks. Peace.